Hello, dear chess friends. We keep examining the most important theoretical pawn endgames, and this time I would like to present the fundamental concept of shouldering. What does shouldering means when we refer to the pawn endgames? Uh, in order to explain it simple, I can say that this is using our own king in order to push the opponent's king away. For example, we will examine one very simple position just to present how the entire concept works. Remember, the definition is very simple. We use our own king in order to push the opponent's king away. In most of the cases, we prevent the opponent's king from approaching an important sector of the board. Let's take a look at the position on the diagram. Okay, it's obvious that white should go towards the a7 pawn and try to recapture it. But can you figure out the right route for our king? Because we can go straight forward to take the a7 pawn, or we can use this route. Which one is the correct? You can pause the video for 30 seconds because the position is relatively simple, and try to figure out on your own what is the correct route for our king. Okay, I hope that everyone managed to find the correct solution. We should use the route via the d5 square. What is the reason? The reason is that in this way we are going to shoulder the opponent's king, and we will prevent the opponent's king from approaching the key c7 square, because Black's only idea is to occupy the c7 square at the moment when we take the a7 pawn. For example, let's say, okay, king e6, king c3. Now, the correct move is king d5. But let's suppose that we just play king d4, king d6, sorry. And here, the black king can go to d4, and then it's quite easy to occupy the c7 square at the moment when we take on a7. For example, here the draw is pretty simple. King c6, then king e5 should be played, king b7, king d6, and you see that the black king reaches the c7 square just in time. That's why here we should use the d5 square to go towards b7. Now the black king is being shouldered. We are pushing the opponent's king away, and here king d4 is not possible. Okay, you will say that black can probably try to play king to b4. But then king c6, we keep shouldering the opponent's king, and this route is not available. This position is completely winning. For example, if we continue with king c4, then king b7, king c5, king a7, king c6, and it turns out that black is one tempo away from saving the game. Black doesn't have the necessary time to play king c7, and we are just in time to play king b8 and followed by a7 and promote the pawn. Let's take a look at one additional variation. Here, black can play also king d3, but now king c6 once again. Black is not in time. King d4, king b7, king c5, and white is winning again in the same fashion. Here, you should understand this concept very well by witnessing something very important. You see that with every move, white is approaching to the a7 pawn. So you play king e6 and you approach to the a7 pawn. Black plays king c3 and black is approaching to the c7 square. Now we play king d5 and we are approaching to the a7 pawn. But if black plays now king d3, this move doesn't let the king get closer to the c7 square. And this is where black is losing this important tempo. If he plays king b4, he is approaching the c7 square. But after king c6, it's not possible to approach the c7 square. And that's why black is forced to lose a tempo once again. I hope that you managed to understand the key idea behind this fundamental concept. And now I would like to show one more example, which tends to be a bit more complicated. Let's take a look at this position. White should try to capture the g6 pawn and then promote his f pawn. But how to approach the g6 pawn? This is the question, and it's not so simple. Therefore, I will recommend you to stop the video, think on your own, analyze the position, and then just see whether your answer is correct or not. By analyzing the position on your own, you will improve your skills in such kind of endgames. Here, the most straightforward way to approach the pawn doesn't work. For example, if we play king to e5, just threatening king f6, you see that the black king is approaching as well. King c4, king f6, king to d4, king g6, and now king e4. Black is going to eliminate our f2 pawn. Our pawn is not going anywhere. Also, when we play king d5, we, for example, try to shoulder the opponent's king. This is not correct way of shouldering, because black can play king b4. This is the so-called detour of the detour maneuver that we are going to examine a bit later, but you can see it even now. Black is going to approach the f2 pawn via this route, for example. And if we prevent the king from approaching by means of king d4, then even this is possible, but he will play king b3, for example. This will be just a repetition. Let's suppose that we play king e6, and once again we are not in time. After king f6, king d4, black is going to recapture this pawn as well. Therefore, the right way is king d4. For the moment, we prevent the king from approaching our f2 pawn. We're making the so-called shouldering. And at any time, we're ready to go towards the g6 pawn. And here there is one very important rule. If the opponent king takes a position, so this is the so-called opposition, then you should play with the pawn. You should push the pawn forward, and this is a crucial win of a tempo, because now it's black to move and black cannot approach to the pawn. Then we can already start approaching the opponent's pawn. For example, after king b3, king e5, king c4, king f6, and you see that we're just one tempo ahead, which is enough to win the game. So remember, when you see that there is a position between the kings, it's time to win an important tempo by advancing the pawn. f4. This is very good. And what else black can do in this position? Let's suppose that black wants to keep his king flexible and plays g5. But this is actually losing an important tempo because now the pawn is getting closer to our king and we can immediately go after it. King e5, king c4, king f5, and it turns out that black is not in time to catch our pawn. Very well. And at the end, let's see what will happen if black plays king to c6. Then, when the opponent's king go backward, it's time for our king to go forward. So, king e5. Black plays king c5. Once again, trying to answer king f6 with king d4, and we know that this position would be a draw. But do you notice something interesting? There is an opposition between the kings. Therefore, the correct move here is f4. Whenever you see that there is an opposition between the kings, it's time to push the pawn. Very important positional concept, very important concept in such endgames. So king c4, king f6, king d4, king g6, and black is not in time to regain the pawn. And okay, our f pawn is unstoppable. So remember, this concept of shouldering is really crucial for your understanding of the pawn endgames. The shouldering can be applied to actually not only in pawn endgames, but also in some kind of rook endgames, especially when rook is fighting against pawns. Uh, but this will be examined a bit later. Thank you for watching, and I hope that the material was useful for you.